Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. I have some news about that recession that everyone said was coming. I think maybe it's not going to come. Now, whether you believe it or not, or if you feel it or not, the United States economy at the macro level under President Biden is, according to nearly every metric we use to measure such things, in excellent shape. Yesterday, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, announced the Fed will keep interest rates steady for now and forecast they will cut rates 3 times in 2024. Now, that may seem obscure, the kind of thing that the business press covers very, very closely, but it's massively significant. It is a hugely positive indicator that we may be through the worst of our recent economic challenges, the most difficult, turbulent ones we've seen in a generation at least. And next year, we could have something that looks like normalcy. I mean, better than normalcy, a growing economy unfettered by the aftermath of COVID. As Jerome Powell explained, it's not quite mission accomplished. The economy, our economy, has defied all expectations, all predictions of doom, and all systems right now are roaring ahead.
Forecasters generally, if you go back a year, were very broadly forecasting a recession for this year, for 2023. And not only did that not happen, that includes Fed forecasters and really essentially all forecasters, a very high proportion of forecasters were expecting very weak growth or a recession. Not only did that not happen, we actually had a very strong year. And that was a combination of strong demand, but also real gains on the supply side. So this was the year when labor force participation picked up, where immigration picked up, where the distortions to supply and demand from the pandemic, the shortages and the bottlenecks really began to unwind. So we had significant supply side gains with strong demand, and we got what looks like a 2.5% plus or a little more than that growth year.
So the disruptions from COVID unwinding, more people joining the labor force, more immigration, also crucial, right? All coming together to produce growth that's above target, right? Not just not of getting in a recession, like a strong year of growth. And in reaction to Jay Powell coming out and saying, look, we think we've navigated this. We think we don't have to keep hiking rates. We think we have inflation under control. We think we're on the glide path to normalcy for the first time in the last few years. In reaction to that news, a real indication that we have made it through this turbulence, the stock market went bananas. All 3 of the major averages hit 52-week highs. The Dow set an all-time record, closing above 37,000 for the first time. It was such a big deal, even Fox News had to acknowledge it.
Our graphics guys went nuts today because the Dow is now at it. There we go. Thank you. That is the highest the Dow has ever been. It broke a record that goes back almost 2 years. Scott Martin is here to celebrate not only that record, but the graphics that go with it. Scott, always good
Where's
to see.
Where's the champagne?
Yes, indeed. Well, I already drank it. But you know what's remarkable?
I've been drinking too.
I bet you have.
It's sort of a while to see that, right, on Fox Business News. Now, but part of the reason they're so psyched is because, it's good for rich people when stock goes up. Good for most people, but really good for rich people. And it's clear that, like, the stock market is in the economy. But remember, the reason the stock market went up yesterday is because the actual economy looks like it's doing so well. Now, the White House, the Biden White House, certainly didn't ignore all this good news, but they didn't take that much of a victory lap either. I mean, they sent out a few tweets highlighting the decrease in gas prices and inflation, which are important and good. During the daily briefing, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre touted the president's work to, quote, grow our economy from the middle out. They sent Jared Bernstein, chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, out to do the rounds on TV. All of that is good. I mean, they should, right? But just take a second right now, okay, to consider what the alternate reality would be like in this moment after this turbulence under a Donald Trump presidency. My strong belief is that part of the reason that people's perception the economy was good in the Trump era, that Trump would be good at managing the economy, is that he constantly, unceasingly sledgehammered us over the head with propaganda about it day after day after day. The economy under his leadership was the greatest of all time.
We have the best economy, greatest economy we've ever had.
We're the greatest economy that we've ever had in the history of our country.
We have the greatest economy anywhere in the world. We built the greatest economy in the history of the world. We have the greatest economy on earth, not even close.
By the way, that wasn't true, just to be clear. I mean, depending on how you even think of the metrics. But even worse, amidst the tumult, the scariest, toughest days of the pandemic, when Donald Trump was president, let's remember, okay? Didn't stop in 2019. He was president in 2020. During those worst days, when we were staring down the barrel of a mass death event that was going to kill more than 1 million Americans, Donald Trump was focused on that economic propaganda, not even the economy, economic propaganda in that moment. I want you to take a time machine back to that Black Friday with me, March 13th, 2020, okay? It was the first week when it was clear to everyone the pandemic was here, it was very seriously, and it was going to close everything down, massively disrupt all our lives across the globe. What did Donald Trump do that day? Donald Trump invited a bunch of CEOs of major companies to come to the White House to stand up at the podium with him in the Rose Garden for an hour and 50-minute press conference. He used the opportunity to tout all the ways that he and they, in partnership, were going to fight the pandemic and how these companies were going to help him. And the first one he called out was Google.
I want to thank Google. Google is helping to develop a website. It's going to be very quickly done, unlike websites of the past, to determine whether a test is warranted and to facilitate testing at a nearby convenient location. Google has 1,700 engineers working on this right now. They've made tremendous progress. Our overriding goal is to stop the spread of the virus and to help all Americans who have been impacted by this.
Wow, that sounds incredible, this public-private partnership with one of the most amazing American businesses, Google. It was completely bogus. It was totally fabricated. The whole thing, invented out of thin air. The 1,700 number, all of it. They were not making a nationwide coronavirus testing website. They had no idea that Donald Trump was going to claim that it was. They had no idea what to say when reporters asked them. Just wholly fabricated. And then the president called out every CEO by name, making the celebrities, as he referred to them, each say a few words to the gathered press.
If I could, some of these folks we know, they're celebrities in their own right. They're the biggest business people, the greatest retailers anywhere in the world, and one of them is Doug McMillon from Walmart, and I'd like to have Doug, if you would, say a few words. I'll just stay right over here, and Richard, if you could come up, please. Richard, please. Walgreens. Brian Cornell, Target. Stephen Rakowski, Quest Diagnostics. And Matt Sauce, please, of Roche. Matt, thank you, Matt. David Pierre of Signify Health. Adam Schechter, who's really been of tremendous help, LabCorp, please. Adam. Thomas Moriarty, CVS. We all know CVS.
Again, this was we were in the DEF CON portion of this. It was coming, okay? That's what he's doing, this dog and pony show. That routine, combined with a long question and answer portion, took up enough time. The CEOs were all trapped in the Rose Garden through the closing bell of the stock market, which Trump knew. And that spectacle, American business is coming together to make this all go away, it worked. It worked. This Potemkin village, this propaganda show, the markets went up. Donald Trump boasted of that achievement, get this, by signing a chart of the Dow that day and sending it to his buddy Lou Dobbs on Fox Business.
The president celebrating his signature day today. The White House sent along to me a signed chart of the skyrocketing Dow, the S&P 500, and NASDAQ. The Dow, by the way, rose more than 1,000 points from the time he started talking to the time his news conference was over with his decisive announcement to declare the coronavirus pandemic a national emergency.
Of course, it didn't mean anything in the long term. It was an utterly short-lived victory. The virus didn't go away. The next day, the markets were open over the weekend, right? Monday, March 16th, the Dow collapsed, suffering its third worst day ever. Of course, because guess what? The mass death event was still bearing down on us. So what we saw from Donald Trump in March 2020, the first time he was really tested as president, right? First real crisis showing up, he's got to deal with it, was the staged fake propaganda version of economic success amidst an impending mass death event. Yesterday we got was the real version. Joe Biden has had to deal with crisis from day one. Donald Trump got to coast for the first few years, right? He got it. He had to deal with COVID, and that's what he did. Joe Biden has had to deal with crisis from day one. And yesterday, when Jay Powell went out there and said, wow, look where we are, all signs show that we have actually subsequently accomplished this incredibly difficult economic goal, and the markets went up. And the difference between how Donald Trump and Joe Biden handle those moments tells us something important about why we are where we are.